It's not too much of a leap of faith to think of the Catholic Church over the past few decades as a big multinational corporation in trouble. Its product no longer selling like it once did, its reputation tainted by the whiff of corruption and scandal. It did, after all, do what big businesses in trouble do. Its CEO announced he was retiring. Its board of directors was called in to appoint new management to try to restore the appeal of its products, to relaunch Brand Vatican. And Pope Francis is its face. In just over a year since the election of this outsider from Argentina, who was given a papal mitre and a figurative broom to sweep out the ecclesiastical cobwebs, the Catholic Church is a place transformed.
The change in the image of the papacy and the Vatican throughout the world, there's nothing short than remarkable in 1 year.
Change in the imagery of the papacy, says Father Robert Dodaro, who teaches early Catholic philosophy at Rome's Pontifical Lateran University. But a church riven by internal conflict and laboring under the shame of its priestly child abuse scandal, which Pope Francis again addressed earlier this month, is still waiting to see what substantive changes this Pope of the people might bring. So the question comes up then, what's changed really?
Nothing. Unless you think style is more important than content, and a lot of people do.
It is the now familiar change of style of this Pope that has made him such an international headline getter. The Pope who rejected the lavish papal residence in the Apostolic Palace to live in a simple 3-room apartment in the Vatican's clerical guest house. The Pope who carries his own bag and who travels not in a limo, but in a reasonably priced car. The Pope who washes the feet even of non-Catholics and who is more likely than not to give a kid a lift. But all this atmospheric change has raised expectations that other changes must surely be in the papal pipeline. This is the Pope, after all, who, when asked about his attitude toward homosexuals, did not echo the Catholic line that they had an intrinsic disorder. Instead, he asked, "Who am I to judge?" Ears pricked up. Was the Catholic Church about to reconsider its position on gays, on divorce, on birth control? Well, yes and no.
There's a difference between changing the teaching and changing the approach. We can change the approach. We can be welcoming to people whose lifestyles we cannot accept.
But if you're gay or if you're divorced and you feel yourself ostracized by the church, in fact, your position within the church, welcoming though this Pope might want to make it, hasn't really changed. You
That's
still
correct.
can't take the communion.
No.
Still, Francis has raised expectations of change in at least one area. The anticipation is that the prescription against divorced Catholics, being full Catholics, receiving communion,
Divorced and remarried Catholics.
Catholics, that they might be accepted back into the church to the extent of being allowed to take communion. That's the expectation.
That's the expectation,
so
yes.
Is it going to happen?
I don't know. Pope Francis wants this debate to take place. That's remarkable in itself.
It's remarkable because Francis is no theological revolutionary. He's the product of a college of cardinals selected by the 2 previous, very conservative popes, Benedict and John Paul II. Radical reform of church doctrine is not what they had in mind when they chose Francis. Longtime writer on church affairs, Massimo Franco, thinks the popular view of Francis as a potential reformer may be based on wishful thinking.
The paradox of this Pope is that he's wearing the clothes that other people want him to wear. But I'm not sure that they are the clothes he wants to wear.
He's still a very traditional man, you think, in terms of doctrine?
I think he's a traditional man.
But Francis is a traditional man who doesn't come from the Roman tradition, or even the European one. In fact, much of his appeal is based on the fact that he's an outsider who has no stake in the mess at the center of the church. This is Francis's problem, the Vatican. He was elected by the cardinals to fix this place. Its bloated and inefficient and jealous bureaucracies, its financial corruption, its sense of isolation from the real world where the church should be doing its work. And it's still Francis's problem because there are parts of this place that don't want to be fixed. Already there is grumbling that Francis doesn't understand how the church's powerful administrative structure, the Roman Curia, really works. That he doesn't value the cardinals who run its various departments or appreciate the work they do.
These cardinals who are working in the Roman Curia are seasoned church bureaucrats. So there's pushback, yes. Now, is that significant? I think not. I think you'd have to be naive to think you were going to come in and reform the Roman Curia and everyone was going to applaud you.
And it wouldn't squeak.
That's right. So yeah, there's pushback.
There's also irony. The church may have needed Francis, but he needs the church. If he doesn't get the Vatican on his side, reform it in his image, he won't be able to single-handedly turn the Catholic Church into the more welcoming, more merciful place he says he wants it to be.
What I think Francis knows very well is that he can win worldwide only if he wins in Rome. If he doesn't win in Rome, he cannot win worldwide.